What's up, everybody? Welcome to Games Go Online show, where we tutorialize every discipline and bring it to you.
To me.
To me. And who are we? Who are we, Larry?
I'm Larry Charles, and longtime game designer. This is Brandon Pham. So longtime environment artist.
Put up those graphics.
Oh, look at that. If you want to follow us on Twitter, there's where you can do that.
Exactly. And you can find us live on Twitch, obviously, which is twitch.tv/blue_champs to chat with us and our guests every week on Thursdays at 11 a.m. Pacific time. If you are finding us later, you're obviously finding us on our youtube.com/bluechamps.
Yeah.
And if you want to support, you can subscribe on our Twitch, or you can support us on our patreon.com/gamesgoonline.
Yeah.
All right.
All those cool things.
All those cool things. So this guest is someone really special. We've been friends with a long time. He's the community manager over at Quixel and just a badass 3D artist.
Yeah, I vouch for both. Definitely a wonderful gentleman, human being, incredibly talented artist, and good person to podcast interview from time to time. And we will prove that today.
Yes. So we're gonna switch to his face, whoop him, and I'm gonna unmute you right now.
No, just kidding.
Give me a sec. I think I lost my mouse.
Oh, you guys are way too nice to me.
All right, hold on a second. We have a tech issue we got to fix. Just got to get the mouse to connect to the receiver.
Yeah, people can't hear him
just
yet, so Larry just
we actually, so the way that all the cameras and everything is set up, the computer we actually use is way across the room from where we actually sit and film from. And sometimes the wireless mouse becomes not wireless. It just, there we go. All right, so.
That's why mine's wired still.
Yeah. Well, we need like a 15-foot USB extender, and then we'll probably be good to go. We should get one off Amazon.
Monoprice.com, man. That's the place to go for that kind of stuff.
Oh, what's it called? I'm no kidding.
Monoprice.com.
Monoprice.com. Let me check that out.
Yeah, when I still worked at Radio Shack, I used to send people to go there instead of paying $50 for a monster cable. Wasn't good for my profit margin, but it works.
It's all good.
So Jonathan, we had you on the other podcast before, but a lot of people are tuning in who don't even know about that. So if you give us a little intro of who you are, and then we'll go right into the demo.
So I'm Jonathon Holmes. I'm Quixel's community manager, and recently just been promoted to simulation sales too. As you guys recall from our last conversation, I used to work in that industry, so I'm pretty much the liaison contact for them. I just pretty much I'm the point of contact for most people when it comes to the company. Whenever they have issues or they just want to chat, I'm the most responsive person. That's what I'm paid to do. Mm-hmm. So I sit here most of my day and chat with people and try to make them happy, which is not the easiest job, but it's pretty rewarding to make a difference in some people's lives. So
that's good work, man. Just so you know.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It's tough. It takes a lot of time and a lot of patience, but seeing people happy at the end of the day is totally worth it. I've had a lot of jobs in my life, and this is probably one of the best ones I've ever done. So I give it my full attention every day and try not to let anybody go away disappointed.
And how did you first get involved or get started with working with Quixel?
Oh, man, that's a fun story. Polycount is the shortest way to say it. Back in the days when Quixel's support reputation wasn't as good as it is now, Quixel Suite kind of had issues, and because I worked with the suite quite often in the simulation industry, I just knew all the problems with it. I knew how to fix it, and I stepped in and I offered suggestions and advice to people, and I got the attention of the higher ups at Quixel, and I guess they realized if this guy's going to do it for us, why don't we just hire him and just make it official? So that's kind of how it started. That
shows a lot of like how Quixel treats things, because other companies would be like, oh, this guy's going to do it for us and for free. Let's send him a t-shirt.
You know,
that's awesome.
The thought did cross my mind that would happen, but instead of sending me a t-shirt, they sent me a new computer. So
oh man, that's awesome. Yeah, we love the Quixel guys and girls, obviously. So super happy to have them.
They're amazing people. It's like I said, I've worked for a lot of places and I've worked with a lot of people, and this is the only job I've ever had where I don't hate somebody I work with. It's incredible.
That is amazing. That is a huge record right there. There's always somebody.
Trust me, man.
I don't want to laugh, but I laugh because I know what you mean.
It's Teddy's done a great job of handpicking everybody that joins the team, and everybody comes to it with like a sense of duty to not only the company but to each other. So it's not like we're trying to backstab each other or move up with office politics. We just do our job and try to make people happy. We don't always succeed because nobody's perfect, but we do our best, and at least we can say that. So
great. Well, I think as soon as you screen share on the other side, we are ready to rock, man. We'll start switching it to that screen. Yeah.
All right, so what do we have the pleasure of being walked through today? What's our demo going to be?
So this is a scene that I had put together on a break from Fortnite. I'm not ashamed to say that I got tired of smashing my desk with my hand. So I just took a break and uninstalled the game. And I'm like, I'm done. Maybe I'm getting too old to play this game anymore. All these kids are wrecking me every day. So I'm going to go do something I'm actually good at. So I took a bike ride with my daughter over to State Road 417, which is a toll road here in Orlando. And there's this part where you go underneath underneath the road, and it's just like all this overgrown vegetation everywhere on the side of the bike trail.
And so you took a photograph of it.
Oh yeah. I took a ton of photos of it. Actually, let me pull it up and I'll show you. I think I still have
that's not the photograph?
That's his 3D rendering, bro.
Real time and Unreal.
Oh my god!
I mean, that's
I assure you, the photographs look way better.
I legitimately thought that was okay. So I wasn't wrong, but I was wrong.
So here's the actual photos of the day that I went there. There's some creative liberties taken. Like I moved this arrangement of ivy over here just because I thought it looked cooler that way. But overall, I tried to keep everything exactly the same, or at least as close as I could get it, given I didn't want this to run at 2 frames like I did with my train project. But yeah, I mean, I leveraged all of the scan library that I could from our assets just to try to make this as easy as possible and as fun for myself as I could. I even went to Street View and just got some images of the type of pine trees that are on top just to make it authentic.
Nice.
So let's see. Yeah, this is the primary reference that I use. So I think I kind of accomplished my goal where I tried to get this to be close to a photograph, but the thing that everybody, when they kept giving me, what's that?
I said you fooled me, because now seeing the like Unreal interface around it, I'm like ashamed that I asked that you were showing me a photograph.
Yeah, it's not so impressive when I turn off this one camera view. It's just smoke and mirrors, right? Like, I just duplicated the same wall over and over to block the light, things like that. And then you go up here and there's nothing there. But I mean, pretty much smoke and mirrors is our trade, isn't it? It's what we do. Yeah. So can't always make everything true to life. Sometimes you just have to make it look like something's there, even if nothing is. But yeah,
do you mind just walking through like your process? Of course, reference photo. I advise it's a lot of 3D artists. It's like as you're trying to figure out your skill set and trying to get as close as possible, having references is like a huge component to that. The more you're guessing, the less realistic it's going to be. Do you mind kind of diving into that mindset as well?
So yeah, I mean, I'm agree with you completely. It's very difficult to work on anything without proper references, right? Like you can't model a tank or an automobile or a bicycle or a wall without proper references. You can try from memory, but most people can't even draw a bicycle from memory, right? So have you ever seen that where like somebody tells someone like,
yep,
where everything goes?
There was like a thread, I think it was like a Facebook thread maybe or something, where there was like 8 or 9 pictures of people who had drawn bikes from memory. Oh, hilarious.
Yeah, and it ends up being like this weird amalgamation of random triangle shapes with a couple of like wheels on it, and it just doesn't make any sense. But that's how people see these things. But like one thing I learned in art college was, and I'm glad I went for nothing else but this piece of advice, was draw what you see, not what you think you see. And that's always been kind of what I try to do with what I work on. Like, I'm not perfect, so occasionally I'm going to look at this block and maybe I won't measure it correctly when I go to make it in our software, but I'll at least get it close enough that it resembles what it is that I'm trying to make, right? So ultimately, I try to draw or create what it is that I see in front of me rather than what it is that I think I'm seeing. And sometimes I have to go back and forth and I'll measure things out in Google Earth. Like I literally measured this thing out and like got the exact dimensions from the edge of the trail over to here, just so like when I went in here and made it, I wouldn't have to guess at what it was that I was trying to do. How far these distances are determines what it's actually going to look like in the end. It's all little stuff that all adds up to a bigger product in the end.
And your daughter was patient enough while you like, hold on a second, and start, on the bike ride, whip out the camera, get reference photos. Is she used to that kind of behavior with you? I'm assuming you do reference stuff.
Yeah, I mean that's her right there watching me.
So. Come on, Dad.
She actually she liked it too. She loved this ivy so much that she even took her own pictures of it. So
nice.
I think artistry kind of runs in the family line. So
that's wonderful.
Patience is not like a terribly a virtue that we understand as much, but at least we understand art, so we have that going for us. Like I said, with patience, I'm sorry if I cut you guys off occasionally, but there's a little bit of a delay sometimes.
No, that's us as well. Again. Wow, look at that.
Now, with some of the things here, I even actually let me pull the references back up. I even tried to get the exact type of mud and whatnot underneath the little creek here on the side. And if I hide this, it should be a little bit more obvious. And you can look at it from like the unlit view, where you can see I tried to even get the same types of like pine needles and whatnot in there. We don't have Florida pine needles, but we have stuff that looks similar enough to it that you can kind of pass it off. And the water shader is just a basic Unreal Engine shader that I just kind of finagled with and played and tried to make it look as good as I could. I think water is one of those things that's just really hard to get just right. No matter how many times I play with it, like if I try to increase the depth of the water so that it's easier to see beneath it, it just makes the reflections on top go away, stuff like that. So it's not a perfect implementation, but it's close enough that it at least passes as water, right?
It's beautiful.
So yeah, I appreciate it. It took me a long time to work on this. So I just worked on it pretty much every single day for a month. Just thinking I was hoping I could get this done in 2 weeks. And I ended up taking, I think it was closer to 3, just about 4 hours a night.
What was the first thing that you started on after you had your reference material, though? Was it just like the big shapes and getting the walls and light right, or did you start importing the plants? Because a lot of the people that kind of watch us are still being introduced to Quixel Suite, the mixer, and to the Megascans library. So even if you had here's my 8-step workflow, even though it took the month or 2 months, I guess could you break down just your steps in name?
Sure. The first thing I did literally was open up Mixer.
Okay.
So I have a beta version of Mixer that I don't want to open just yet because there's some features in there we probably shouldn't show on camera in case they get cut.
Breaking.
They added the legit make art button, and they don't want the world to see that it exists yet. So.
This is the Mixer for Jonathon version.
Oh, yes. So let's see here. I should have one in here called... Here's where the stuff where I was actually working on it. I think it is this one.
There's the Teddy button.
Nope, that's one of my crappy tests. Teddy button. Maybe no, that was not it. Which one is this? Oh, come on.
If you need us to blank your screen at any point for whatever reason,
no,
in case oh shit, don't show that.
No. This is the public version of Mixer. Nothing to worry about.
Okay, cool.
The nice thing is the newest version of Mixer, one of the things I can talk about is that loading this project would have already been done by this point.
Nice.
Wow.
So yeah, that's another reason why I'm not showing it, because people will look at this video and say, why does mine load so slow?
That's the premium subscription model.
Nice.
Exactly. Let's turn all this stuff off. That was me experimenting with paint masks. So I'll get to that point in a moment. But this is pretty much what I started with. This is all made in Mixer. Every bit of this is procedural with some scans laid on top. And
I love how Mixer. Yeah, I love how Mixer combine, because I started being introduced to Quixel Suite tools with the Endo. Is it Endo? Some people say Endio. I say Endo.
I call it Endo,
and then Dedo.
Yeah.
Right. And
that's
I love how yeah.
I've heard a guy call it Endo.
Yeah, I've heard people say it all the time. Am I
arts.
saying it wrong? People have said ND0. I was like, where's the zero? Anyways.
Sorry.
I love how it combines a lot of those great features, because making a normal map from scratch and not having to bake is still unchallenged in my opinion. using you guys' suite, right? Like all the other
Yeah.
programs still makes it somewhat difficult where I just want to create a normal
look
map
at
on a
that.
planar field
Yeah.
and then start building from that. And it makes it so much easier with the mixer. And I love that feature a lot.
This gives me hope.
So
'cause I'm the designer in the group, and I don't have like
Ah.
8 years to get good enough to actually do this level of stuff the old-fashioned way. But like, I get inspired to try every time I see somebody click 2 buttons and like, oh, I've adjusted the normal map, and like, oh, here's me adding this layer and that layer, and it's like, all right, there's hope.
Yeah.
There's hope, Larry.
Yeah, it's idiot proof, Larry. So
Well, as far as like Endu goes, I mean, I'll let you in on a secret. I still work with Endu on System Shock for all the stuff that I'm building for the game. There's times where it just doesn't make any sense to model something that I can paint in Photoshop in about 10 seconds. So
Exactly.
I'm all about efficiency. If I can get
Exactly.
it done in half the time, I'm going to do it because I'd rather get the game done faster. But yeah, so as far as like Mixer goes right now, like here's the mask for what you're seeing, right? For this slab. So this is just literally like if I turn all these other layers off, this is just a pretty basic setup. It's just a simple mask displacing, and then there's a concrete layer applied to that, and then on top of that, there's some edge chipping and some damage that you'll see that are kind of constrained to the edges, and then a little bit of I call it staining in here, but it's more accurately known as like moss and or just road grime.
Yeah.
Pretty much. And then on top of that, I did some highlighting on the what is it? I think it's on the edges here. No, it's this one right here. Or maybe it's not. Which one? That is this one right here. It's just not updating the viewport. Oh, it was 2 layers. Okay, cool. Just to like, even though we use PBR, it doesn't mean that you can't use some trickery to make this thing like display the way you want it to, right? So like you'll notice that the gloss on this is set to nothing and the metalness is set to pure white. Obviously this isn't metal, but because this combination of values pretty much produces nothing in response, like you can't even get a light feedback on it. That's what I wanted on this scene, so that there would be no light reflecting in those cracks.
Okay.
So sometimes you just have to play with the values, even if it's not physically correct, to make it look physically correct.
And just so, because I'm the ignorant one here, geometry-wise, this is a flat plane that everything else is just mask applications. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, pretty much. It's just a literally a flat plane. And
that's not fair.
Normally, normally what you do like in the engine is you could set this up with a displacement shader, which I did originally. And I took that out when I realized it's already running like crap now because this is all in real time. Like if I turn the frames on, I'm getting 10 to 15 frames on a 1080 Ti. Okay. And I realized quickly that if I was going to have this whole thing displaced, it wasn't going to work. So what I did was I just traced around the geo and max, and I made what I would call poor man's displacement, where I just literally traced it and popped it out by hand. It does the exact same thing, except it's more accurate because you're not relying on like pixels matching up with geo, and it runs way faster, which is kind of nice when I'm trying to work on this thing and not, feel like I'm playing some kind of 1980s Pac-Man game. So like it's all like chop, 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 chop moving by. So it works. It's not fast to do it that way, but it works.
As far as like physical properties of like a displaced item, and this may be a little more gameplay centric than it is art centric, but creating these ridges or these perceived geometry, is it easy to also get things to interact or to collide with that, or do you actually have to still make your like collision layer respect the shapes properly if you want proper like bullet bounces and things like that?
Well, considering Unreal does the collision for you automatically unless you tell it specifically that you don't need automatic collision, I think if I can probably show the collision in here. It should be under buffer viz if I'm not mistaken, or it's in here, one of these. I'll just pull up the mesh itself and we can just look at it in there. But it should actually just make a pretty simple box around this.
Yeah, okay.
And theoretically, it's just, there it is right there, that little green outline.
Edge. Yeah, exactly, yep. Oh,
the nice thing about the way Epic set this engine up is that it's super simple and it does most of this for you. Like back in the UDK days, I had to do all this by hand, and that was not terribly fun. So
I remember
I don't miss it at all.
Assets and asset collision. That's how we got started.
Yeah. What was the prefix, like UCX underscore or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, UCX, UBX.
God.
Those were the days, man.
Well, I mean, you still kind of use that if you have more complex geo rather than a box. But yeah, the automatic collision definitely gets you there like 80% of the time, for sure.
Oh yeah, it's nice. But I mean, for what I'm doing, this is just for rendering's sake.
Yeah.
So, but I probably could run around in here if I really wanted to.
Yeah, no designers allowed in this.
No, I was just because that's my
This is an art
expertise.
box.
So that I
Apparently,
I can
I'm just
learn
flying.
the limits and capabilities.
Yeah, you can probably replay how you were biking next to this wall and then stopped. Shows exactly how.
If you really want to, if you want to have Idiot Simulator, you can just replay the time I fell off my bike on the way to work and broke my arm.
Oh, that sucks.
How'd you? You hit a rock or something? Or what happened? That's always how it happens.
Hold on a second. I'll show you the end result first. Can you see my arms?
Let me go to
the left. Look at the left one.
Let me go a bigger screen. Oh shit!
It's
now, which one do you think screwed up?
The left one, right?
On the one that's to your left from our view. So the one closest to your game bookshelf with the watch.
So people are seeing it on the
this
right.
one?
Yeah.
So this is the one you think's messed up. The fun fact is this one is the one that broke.
What? So you have
both of
so
them
they
are
corrected your arm?
Spaghetti arms, but one is now straight.
Spaghetti arms.
Because it's like it bows in. I can see it bowing.
Yeah, you're doing like a.
It's the correct term is hyperextension, which I found out after I broke my arm because I hadn't been working out enough to keep the muscle wasn't strong enough to keep the elbow from dislocating. But yeah, I fell off my bike like this because I was an idiot, and it was like 30 degrees outside for once in Orlando, early February in 2013, and I was messing with my scarf because I was trying to keep my face from getting frozen, and I know it sounds dumb already, doesn't it? And then I hit the sidewalk, or sorry, the curb, because I took my hands off the handlebar. I'm just pedaling like an idiot, going dirt, and I looked it up, and all of a sudden I'm flying into the curb, and then I'm flying through the air like Superman. And I landed on my arm, and all of a sudden this thing's just hanging down by a thread.
Oh, that is tough.
Oh man,
that is.
You ever
tough to
seen
watch.
you ever seen those NBA clips where like a dude goes up and dunk and he
legs.
lands on his hand, and then he just
Yeah.
doubles over in pain.
Yeah.
It's like that, but a lot less cool. So I had to go to physical therapy for like 6 months.
I bet, man.
So-
And then it probably took a while for you to feel normal after that, right? To
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, here's an easy way to see too. Like, I can do this, no problem, but over here I can only go that far.
I see.
So it's
I've got
it's not like John McCain levels where you can't put his hands above his head, but like it's definitely not fun. Like there's some stuff that I can't reach as easily. So
Are you right-handed or left-handed?
you ever want to do right-handed? That's the worst part.
Oh, so that probably scared
So
you.
now you're
huh?
ambidextrous.
Yeah, I mean, I'd never had it happen to me before. I've never really broken a bone or anything, and I'm just standing there at the side of the road, and my arm's dangling by the skin only, and I'm like, I'm just, it's the weirdest feeling because it's like a pendulum, right? Like your lower arm is moving the opposite direction of your upper arm.
Yeah.
So, man, my fingers still work. That's the weirdest part about it.
Whoa.
Like,
yeah.
I'm sure I'm grossing some people out, so I'm sorry if I am, but like, just the moral of the story is don't be an idiot. And if your vehicle requires you to put your hands on it, use your damned hands. Learn from my mistakes.
I was going to offer you
aside
a
from
story
that-
of compassion.
Yeah, let's simulate the fall right here in your scene right now.
Oh boy, I can't wait.
Let's
break my other one so
one.
it straightens out too, right?
Turn on physics and just throw them against the wall.
It's like, just use the camera. So I was about here, and then all of a sudden,
This is where I feel right here
into
in this
the
spot. So, do you mind kind of going
All right.
through your layers with your foliage on the ground? Like, how'd you set it up? Because obviously with foliage, at least with 3D environment artists, at least for me, right? How I went about my career was hard surface and then organic and then foliage, right? Because foliage always has been a scary thing for me. Even though it feels pretty straightforward, it wasn't until later where I got okay with it. So if you don't mind kind of going through like your layering and making it work and looking so good. Looks so
So
good.
honestly, man, 90% of this is Megascans. Like
Mhm.
it's doing most of the work. The other 5% is me knowing how to set up materials in Unreal to push things the way I want them to be pushed. And the other 5% is a lot of really annoying, painstaking cutting of atlases and putting them together in Max.
Mm-hmm.
That is most of it. Some of these plants are already pre-made, but even pre-made plants don't look all that great if you don't know how to set them up with proper lighting and proper materials. People will tell you constantly lighting is everything, but they forget that materials make and break something as well. The thing with Unreal especially, and it's been my experience with it, is that if materials aren't set up right and you're not getting the normal information off these plants, or if like, let's just try it like this. Let me load one of these plants up and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. I just got to remember which one it was called. It should be ground cover, all these little tiny ones here. They will look significantly less interesting if I change the normal value and bring it down to where it usually sits. So like right now, if you look at the material that I have set up, right, looks pretty cool. And again, this is all Megascan stuff, so it's just me just plugging in some values and setting up the material correctly, or at least the way I think is correct. I mean, there's always different approaches to everything. But if I set the normal strength down from 2, and 0.5, so the red and green channels are being bumped and the blue channels being pushed down, see how much more flat that looks?
Yeah.
It instantly loses a lot of its depth. And again, it's probably not physically accurate in the slightest to do things the way I'm doing right now. But when you come in here and you need to make things read at a distance, like human eyesight is pretty good, right? Like you can see details and things from a distance, and what determines what something is obviously done by like the surface value of it. And you can usually tell that this leaf has, veins and whatnot that you can see, maybe not like perceptibly, but at least the light's hitting it in such a way that it's obvious to you. And that's what makes a plant look like a plant rather than like a piece of dirt. The fact that it's green and it's shaped like a leaf. I'm not making a good case for myself here. Hold on.
That's okay.
But like if you look at it here, right? If I come back and I just pop out just a little bit to right here, so these little plants that I'm kind of highlighting, if I change that to what it normally sits at, see how much more flat they look?
Yeah.
Like, if I get up really close, it's even more obvious. Like, it barely reads as a leaf to me.
Yeah.
Like, you can see the details there, but without the highlighting, which I'm about to put back on, 0.5, 2, and 2, suddenly that has the ability to break up the light hitting it. And it doesn't have to be a whole lot. It just has to be enough to break up the surface. And honestly, like a lot of these little ground cover plants I put together in like 5 minutes. I just put them in there and just went and just painted them everywhere I thought I could, just to try to get that, like, and a lot of things like this ties into what I'm about to say, but a lot of people will just use ground textures, right? But you can't carry a scene with just ground textures. You need things to break up the light hitting it, because you can only do so much with geometry. You need like actual terrain geometry. You need other things to break that up. You need foliage. That's what makes ground read as dirt. That's what makes ground read as grass. Like dirt is broken up by leaves. Dirt is broken up by grass blades. It's not just pure dirt most of the time. There's other stuff involved in it. And it's that little detail that makes these things pop out and read as real. And without that, you might have something that looks cool, but it's not going to read as realistic. Hopefully I'm not just ranting here.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I got another question. So this level of detail that you are like you've achieved right now, you had mentioned earlier that like you also wanted to make sure that it was going to run at like a decent frame rate. You said not 2 frames a second.
Yeah, I learned when I was working on my locomotive scene, which I won't even dare load right now because it takes so long to open, that it's not so much that I'm trying to demonstrate that these things can be done in real time, because 14 frames a second isn't really real time. But I just want to be able to work in here and not feel like I have to fight my computer to get something done.
Right.
If it's moving like this, then I just can't get those precise movements that I need to be able to like frame a shot, because then I'll overshoot slightly, or it'll just be, instead of being a relaxing meditative experience to create something, it just becomes kind of like a boxing match with the computer, and you just feel like you got to get your bars up and knock someone out, So I find it best to try to optimize this stuff at least a little bit, because every little optimization counts towards the end, especially if you're making this for real time. You can't do what I'm doing here. This is all dynamic lighting. But for other scenes that I'm working on, like I was talking to Brandon on Facebook about Deus Ex and recreating Hell's Kitchen from the first one. That one is being built to run at trying to get 60 frames. Okay. And if you guys want to see it, I can probably load it here in a minute.
I know the fans would love to see it too.
It's not something I've been too keen on showing off because it's still super early. but there's enough stuff in there that it should look pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'm
trying to build the
everybody.
entire map.
Yeah, right. Everyone benefits from seeing like certain progress because it's great and maybe intimidating to see your final product a lot of times. So that's why I'm like this show especially is to kind of go and dig underneath the layers to see how you build up to a scene like this to make it seem more approachable. Even though, like anything, it takes a lot of time to make good looking art. So
Yeah, that's something that maybe I can just rant for a second about. When I was in college and I would see people making art, and this is like 2007 to 2011, I used to look at stuff like this and be like, I could never do that because I never felt like I had the time to do it. And a lot of the times, like mentally, I think people like me, especially, would look at this stuff and be like, wow, they must have done this so quick. They must be just amazing at it. When everybody's really not that much different from each other. We're all just kind of plodding along and doing the best we can with what we want to do. And like, there's nothing that separates what I've made here from anything anyone else can do, aside from the fact that I set out to do it and that I did it.
Yeah.
Like I tell people every time we do live streams that I've been part of on Quixel, like anything that I can do, you guys can do too. There's nothing innately about me that makes me any more special than anyone else, aside from the fact that I got hired at a top tier texturing company. But that's not a flex. That's just how it is. That's what defines me now. Like I could have easily ended up working at a grocery store the rest of my life because maybe I just didn't meet the right person and I didn't get the hand up that I needed. And that's why I try to help other people, because I know how easily I could have ended up in a situation I wouldn't have been happy in. So that's why I like coming and talking about this stuff, to help people realize that you can do anything that I'm doing, and probably even better. Because I'm balancing three jobs right now, 2 for Quixel and 1 for Night Dive Studios working on System Shock. Somebody like Victor, you guys saw the Dust 2 remake, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's all Victor does.
No, I saw it. I now know what it is.
Yeah, it's a lot of time, man. It's a lot of dedication, and it is like you're at a bottom of every mountain. Yeah. It's like, oh shit, do I want to do this? Yes, and it's a whole lot of commitment.
Well, that's what Victor does day in and day out. He's the art lead at Quixel, and he like I get to spend most of my day working with customers and selling products to the sim guys and things of that nature. And most of my time doing stuff like this is in my spare time because I love what I do so much that I got to make time for it. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm sure you guys know what it's like to have that itch. You just have to scratch or you go crazy if you don't.
Of course.
I'm not even an
like
artist.
sometimes I envy Victor because but sometimes I envy Victor because he gets to do this. This is his job. Whereas for me, it's kind of a hobby. Mm-hmm. So just for me, it's so nice that I work for a company that gives me the access to make this kind of stuff, because for them, it's great too, because it gets to show off that even people who don't focus on art all the time get to make things like this. And I guess that's been our motto, besides just trying to scan the world, but also that we're trying to democratize like design to make it so everybody can do this, not just us.
I'll show you some of the stuff that we had been working on when we were running all the Quixel commercials back in the day. Like, we weren't bullshitting. Like, we actually had to use the stuff to know how to talk about it. I'll show terrible art that I made that got less and less terrible. So you can solve all your marketing problems right there. There you go.
I can't wait to see.
Yeah.
Wait, are you showing it right now? I want to see.
Oh no, we're just interviewing you right now.
Oh. Yeah. Don't be modest.
All I got is a cell phone. We're at Brandon's.
You can't see any of it. Yeah.
I'll tell you what. Let me close this. Actually, unless you guys want to talk about this scene a bit more, I could actually pull up the other one in a moment too.
You can pull up the other one. This looks great, man. This is great. Obviously, we're going to link everyone to your portfolio with this video so they can check it out. And we got your Twitter handle as well so they can communicate with you.
Yes, my Twitter that I barely check anymore. But I should start using it.
You should start using it. As the comm guy did. Everyone is on Twitter. Everyone is. That's the
oh, God, dude. I just got finished reading this book called So You've Been Publicly Shamed. That's literally the title of the book. And I swear, I have I went through this entire book and there was at least 2 sections of this devoted to have you ever heard of Justine Sacco?
Mm-mm.
No, not at all.
You may better know her as the AIDS lady who said something horribly insensitive about AIDS and about how
I'm white. So she went.
Yes.
Is that the girl that went to Africa and is like such and such probably get AIDS, but I'm white or something like
yes.
that.
Oh,
yes.
an offhanded joke.
Yeah.
I didn't even want to say it because of how toxic that phrase is.
Yeah.
And I don't want to even have my face associated with it, right? But I read the book and I'm like, it's talking about how she went through all that stuff, and a lot of it was just from Twitter. Like she said that stupid thing. She got on a jet. 11 hours later, she got off the plane, and like she was number one trending across the world.
Everything.
That's scary.
She lost
scary,
everything.
Dude.
She was the
That's
first.
That's kind of why I'm a little afraid of Twitter.
Yeah, that was the first like dragging that I remember being like
first major dragging.
Oh shit, dragging and cancel culture is here for real. Like that was the like.
Oh yeah. Now I'm not gonna
off the flight.
See, that's a joke you say within your friends. But like,
I don't even know about all that.
I'm gonna say it, dude. It's a joke where if you're trying to be shocking, you know.
It's a real shitty joke, Brandon. It's a shitty joke.
You have to be able to say shitty jokes within your friends, but it wouldn't be a statement. I don't know what was the context where she said it, where she was quoted. What was the context? Where was she?
She was going to Africa, and she was like, I don't even recall the exact message, but to paraphrase, it was something like, I'm going to Africa where 99% of people have AIDS, but it's okay because I'm white.
But yeah, who was she saying it to, though? How did she get quoted?
Her Twitter followers.
Oh, so she tweeted it out.
She tweeted it.
See, that's the mistake. That's the mistake, right? If I was in my circles, that would have been okay in my circles, you know? Because I say shockingly terrible things all the time to get that shock. Right, but it's not even the intent behind it is different, though, right? But for her to tweet it out to all her followers,
she shouldn't have done that.
It's terrible. Oh, Larry's looking at the table. This guy knows I say terrible things all the time, but in that context of where, in the atmosphere of where it was bad timing and everything wrong about it, right?
Oh yeah,
she got canceled.
She said something stupid and she paid. Like probably
huge
way more than she should have for it. Oh yeah, she lost her job. She lost her apartment. She lost pretty much everything.
Insane. That's insane.
Yeah. I'll say this. I know a lot of people say a lot of things that, you know, the company that employs them would probably not want to know that their employee says that, or would not want them to act that way, or worse, publicly and proudly like wave that flag in the face of a bunch of people who are going through like AIDS is life threatening.
I know.
You don't have Magic Johnson's money.
That is a huge risk of a joke right there.
It is a huge death.
Oh my God!
You're making fun of AIDS. You're making fun of black people. It's like, damn, dude, are you ready? Are you ready for the saying this joke?
Larry, you just brought back a memory from like when I was like maybe 9 or 10 years old.
Oh man,
You've heard of Huffy bikes, right? I'm sure everybody has at one point.
I had a Huffy.
So
you didn't have shit. You didn't have a Huffy.
Yeah, exactly. In 1990, my dad gave me a Huffy Street Rocker bicycle, which was like, it's garbage compared to what I ride now. Right? I've got like something you could probably ride the Tour de France on, but like as a kid, it was like, oh my God, this is amazing. All right, so this thing, the reason why it was called a street rocker is it had a speaker mounted to the handlebars. Oh. Now, it was like a radio speaker, and I went down the street and I turned on the radio, and it must have been AM radio I had it on, but that was when I first learned that Magic Johnson had AIDS.
Oh man.
Yeah, it's like that's one of my first memories. It's like, and today Magic Johnson came out and announced that he has HIV. I'm like, I don't even know what the hell that is.
Yeah,
I'm only like 9 or 10.
Yeah.
So that was interesting. So when I hear Magic Johnson, that's the first thing I think now.
Yeah. It's true, man. They got him.
So I'm still waiting for this
scary...
project.
It's okay. We have a good like little side segment that we've been digging into.
Yeah.
I'll tell you the way that I know internet sleuthing works. If ever I've said anything on the side of my neck that should not have been said, that has ever hurt anyone's feelings, I promise you I'm a much different person now. I'm refined. I'm very aware of culture. I'm very aware of issues, and I'm very empathetic.
Yeah.
So forgive whatever I said trying to be dumb and win internet cool points back in like 1999.
That's the problem, man. I would not. When we're on live, I'm censored 70% of the time, dude.
Yeah, I'm 100%. I know what I'm saying when I say it. And if I say something edgy, I can defend me saying that because it has to do with something that's important.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get up here and just be like, F this, F that.
No, man, I have enough jokes that won't offend too many people. I save those for my inner circles. All right. And Yeah, people just forget, man. That is the fear of tweeting, in my opinion. Like people get so loose with those thumbs, where they feel like every 5 seconds they have to give an opinion on something, and they get so drunk, like in a drunken haze with that stuff, and just tweet out stuff they shouldn't.
And the hard part, I think, that I see people falling victim for is like they'll feel like their followers are part of an echo chamber that have always supported or encouraged certain types of content.
Yeah. Oh,
but
so you're feeding into it, right?
Right, but they forget it's not a
edge.
closed door system,
Yeah.
right? So like a friend of a friend can see what you said.
Yeah.
A complete stranger can see what you said just because of a hashtag, and you may think like, ha ha ha, I made everyone in my group laugh, but like literally your group is on display.
Yeah.
Somebody grabs it and be like, wow, look at this government worker who's responsible for like FEMA money is like hating on all these people that they're supposed to be actually helping. That person loses their job.
Yeah.
Who snitched? Is the next tweet, right? Like, but
that
you
is no
snitched.
fun.
You did it to yourself. All right. Oh, here we go.
So I'll pull up the references again real quick, but I literally have the actual Deus Ex editor. So I took all these pictures inside of it, and I'll sometimes I'll load it up just to kind of get an idea of what it needs to look like. But I've never been to New York City, but I can tell you for damn sure, this does not look like New York City.
It's clean.
But it's too clean.
It's too clean. There's too much repetitiousness everywhere, and the textures don't even make sense. Like you don't put like the top of a building's trim on the bottom of the building, stuff like that, right? So it's been my kind of mission to just try to make some of these areas make sense. And one of the things I did was just in the beginning, like this is like probably the first 5% of this entire map that I'm trying to build. But if you guys remember the Hilton, more affectionately known as the Ton, because the sign is burnt out, this area I have just tried to make as dingy and gross as possible. And this is all, like everything you're seeing here, every little bit of this is done in Mixer, even these little lamps and everything too. I've been trying out some techniques to texture models without actually having the ability to do so. So this is all just painting by UV map and using UVs as curvature. It's not the most beautiful thing, but I think it works.
It's proof of concept, though.
No, this is looking real cool.
Yeah.
It's shaping up. I kind of want like Max Payne to break through those double doors. It's giving me like a huge Max Payne memory.
Like these doors are all done in Mixer using like in the new build that we have a scatter mod for the mask.
Totally New York.
So all these little cracks and holes and stuff, these are actually all done with the scatter modifier. I may only have like 4 different cracks, and they've been duplicated like a ton of times, randomized pretty much everywhere. And since Mixer is like almost like a real-time Endu and Dedu, like changing any of this stuff, it like all of the layers above it, like all the dirt and all of the gloss changes and whatnot are done in real time. So if I pull this stuff in or out, it all just updates like instantaneously. It's insane. But like all these little trim sheets, that's all done in Mixer. I even did the sign in Mixer. Actually loaded up the Hilton logo, turned it into a black and white grayscale image to turn it into like a height map. Well, no, first, actually, yeah, I did that, but then I took it into Photoshop and added the stroke around the text to make it look like a neon light. And then exported out a black and white mask to use for the emissiveness. And then just added in a light function material on a dynamic light. And that would actually kicks light out.
It's nice.
All the trash and whatnot. This is all from our Megascans library. This is actually the baked lighting map, so you can see it's still like heavily a work in progress. But some other stuff that I've kind of forced Mixer into doing is painting these street lamps. These are about as accurate as I could get them to the real thing. Let's see where they at. Actually, yeah, there they are.
No standing.
Yeah, I was looking up what the hell no standing means, and it actually means you can leave your vehicle there, but only if you're inside of it and ready to move at a moment's notice. It's like it's different than no parking. It's weird. So I've never been to New York City, so I don't know all their little arcane rules they have for everything, but it was just tons of fun to bring all this stuff into Mixer and like try to texture it like kind of like you guys are old enough to know what that's a crappy way of saying this. You guys have been around long enough to know what texturing in Photoshop was like, right?
Oh yeah.
Like yeah,
all
everything
the kids
in Photoshop
nowadays are so spoiled, in my opinion. And I keep trying to hold on to ideas like what if they take all these tools away and they tell you to like make me a texture in Photoshop, which will never be the case,
What are you
right?
gonna do
If you're working
there?
for a company that can't afford Quixel or anything else,
Like
don't
the
stop
modern
working
tools.
for that company. Something
They're also
sketchy
not
is
gonna be
going
able to
on
afford
where they
paychecks pretty
can't
soon.
provide you with their basic texturing software. But it is true,
Hey, I
right?
mean-
There is like building something from scratch is a lost skill right now. I feel nobody would be. A lot of these youngins coming out of school, I feel would be very well. Will be very naked,
Yeah.
basically, if they didn't have these tools with them. They wouldn't know the first thing what's a fill color.
Well, yeah, that's pretty much one of my points that I make when people ask me what I really think about texturing. Regardless of what you choose, if you want to go full procedural, if you don't want to go full procedural, however you approach it, you need to know how to do it if those tools ever stop working.
Yeah.
And it happens frequently enough for people where you can go to any help forum for any software ever made, and you'll see like, why doesn't this work? I need help with this. This isn't broken, or this is broken. This isn't working the way I expected it to. And for me, like, I find it kind of silly to spend a ton of time trying to make something work the way it's been advertised to. Like, if you have a say, for example, somebody advertises that X software has the ability to make everything work for you every single time. You just press a button and Unreal pops it up and it's all done. You don't have to do anything. What happens if it doesn't work? If you don't know how to do that yourself, you're boned. You can't do what you set out to do. And if you're doing it for a company and they're paying you to do it, you're double boned, because then you have to explain to your boss why you didn't get it done. And to me, like, I just got tired of having to be that guy who had to explain to my boss why something wasn't getting done. And I'm just like, I'll find a way to make it work. I don't care. So to me, it's just, to me, the only thing that matters is the end result. If I can get the end result to work, I don't care how I accomplish it. It's just the fastest way and the best looking way is what I go for. So,
Well,
but nothing really beats
man.
going into, what's that?
I said, I think you're on the right track, man. I'm enjoying it.
I try to. I appreciate that, man. It's nice hearing that. Like, usually I just kind of putz around this on every night, and my wife is like, I don't know, does it really have that much graffiti? And like, it's New York City, dude. This is where graffiti was born.
I'll say this: the only thing that's keeping this from feeling like New York City to me is I don't see 9,000 people.
Where's bum number 5?
Yeah,
I don't see him.
You need a crowd
if
simulation,
I had,
then you got it.
if I had enough time to actually model characters and I didn't suck at it, I'd totally do it too.
I don't see the stink lines. Where are the stink lines?
I can paint some stink lines in for you if you want.
Oh, this
But
is cool.
one of the things I
Well,
need
let
to
me
do too is, oh, go ahead.
One last question for me is, what area are you excited about tackling next? If you are going to put some more time into this, I guess where.
Oh, I'm definitely going to put some more time into it.
Okay.
Weekends are where I spend the most time on this project, and I love going into Mixer and just making all these different like components. I'm adopting kind of like the way we do things on System Shock, where we work on a tile based approach. So like every one of these is a 2x2 meter tile, and I can just block them out. Yep. And it's easier if I put it to the grid. So like the 100 grid, just kind of pop it off here and just make more building variations really quickly. And because
there you have it, folks.
these are tiles, right? What's that?
No, I was just I'm co-signing to your process.
Well, yeah. So like, because these are tiles, the cool thing about this is I can take it into a blueprint system, which I actually did with this entire building, and I can just make variations of it within the blueprint by just swapping components out. And I can get like, actually one of the things I want to do is not just have these what do you call it, these curtains painted on here. I'm actually going to come in here and give them depth, so that the curtain is an actual physical object and the window is transparent. But then I would just have to come into here and just replace all of these components and give it that depth. Yeah. And the cool thing about it too is that all this could have been done with displacement, but this would run at like, it would run like doo-doo is the best way to put it.
Doo-doo.
So
the new software, the free version of Doo-doo.
The free version of Doo-doo, not the good one.
So like in a lot of cases here, like when I come to the edge of a window, I don't even bother making a special version of the textures or whatever. I just literally just preserve UVs and max and extend it out, and you can't even tell that it's been done that way unless you get super close. So I just let the normal map from the Mixer project just carry the project as far as I can get it to go. Sometimes it looks obviously fake, and I'll add more depth there, but this is all just traced over the original image. I even have max set up on the old DirectX rendering mode instead of nitrous, so I can actually see the individual pixels instead of them being blurred. And then I can actually get precise cuts on this stuff so that it doesn't have, like when you go to this edge, you're not going to see a piece of brick on that piece of metal. So there's a couple spots where you'll see like the windows kind of popping through right there, but it's so subtle and it's really hard to see in normal like night lighting that it's not even worth mentioning most of the time. Like you can't even see in this image unless I get super close, and even then it's almost impossible to tell.
So if you had maybe a 30, 45-second sales pitch to artists who can do great stuff but haven't tried using Quixel Suite or Mixer or Megascans yet, I guess what would you try to do to convert them?
You know, honestly, just try it. Like open up Mixer and make some stuff. I mean, the 30-day trial for Megascans comes with access to, actually Mixer's free right now anyway, until the beta's over. So like you can just take it up, load it, and do whatever you want in it. It's a fully procedural hybrid tool now, so you can make almost anything you want in there. Like the ability to take any idea that you have and make it in seconds without having to have intricate technical knowledge of how to build stuff. It's like working with Photoshop for materials now. It's insane. And I don't even say that as somebody who works for Quixel. I say it as somebody who uses this tool all the time. Like this entire scene was built using Mixer and some decals and some other stuff, but most of this is Mixer. Almost everything you see in here is Mixer, except for me, like graffiti and stuff too. I paint that in Photoshop, which I love doing. I mean, if I could paint graffiti in real life and not have to worry about going to jail, I probably would.
Well, King Spray is the best medium that I've seen for like enjoying the feeling of doing spray painting, not having to buy the cans, but also not destroying or defacing any actual property.
Is that a VR thing?
Yeah, King Spray is legit.
Yes.
I love King Spray.
That's that VR thing he was talking about,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. Oh, King Spray is legit. If you can get your hands on it and try it, you might actually enjoy it.
I probably
It might be
would,
what you're
because I
looking
just
for.
sit here and I'm just super happy just painting around. But all I have is a PSVR, so
Yeah.
it's not out for that, is it?
I don't know.
It's like a
I don't
no,
know
I think so.
Oculus. Yeah.
I'd like
Well-
to try it sometime. That sounds like a lot of fun.
What I can say is everything that we've seen today has actually been really cool. Thank you for showing us your processes and your breakdowns, but then also really showing us the power of what you guys have been up to over at Quixel and the Megascans, the Quixel Suite Mixer. It's free, again, like you said, so you guys can go try out all the stuff that you saw him doing today on your own. Again, seeing that flat plane geometry become a floor with grout, with depth, with lighting, with scratches and surfacing, knowing that not one moment of that creation was spent in Maya, actually trying to set that up, gives me hope as the non-artist on the team. So I really appreciate everything that you've shown, and I know that the fans and supporters of what we do have really been excited to see something like this happen right in front of their eyes. So I'm just going to do my little send-off and say thanks again. We really appreciate your support, but also the viewer support. Mr. Brandon Pham, if you want to say goodbye to anybody?
Yeah, I want to thank you everyone for tuning in. But before we end the show, let's just talk to Jonathan. Anything lastly that you want to support, where they can find you? This is where you can tell them the links. But of course, we're going to provide that under the show notes. But straight from your mouth, let's go for it.
You can find me on ArtStation. It should be artstation.com/synesthesia. On Polycount too, if you guys ever want to reach out and chat.
Do you mind spelling
Twitter,
that, please? For the listeners?
SYNAESTHESIA. If you're wondering, it is a medical condition where you can taste what you smell and see what you hear, things like that. It's weird, but it's cool.
If you can't find it, go to Jonathon Holmes ArtStation on Google. You'll find it that way too. That one works as well.
That works. The last thing I wanted to say was when it comes to what we do at Quixel, we only succeed when you guys succeed, and we're doing everything we can to make sure you guys can always be happy. So
thank you, man. That's good work. That's good work. On behalf of all the people who don't yet know how cool it is, again, go check it out. It's completely free right now while the beta's out. So go enjoy it. Try it out. Hey, even send them feedback if you can. That'd be great.
please.
All right. Well, yeah, I guess that's it for me. I'm going to go enjoy some lunch. You guys hopefully do the same. Have a great day. Enjoy your time off this weekend. Rest, relax, and we'll see you guys later.